everyone. Students, parents, teachers, librarians, welcome. I am Chris Evans. I am a teacher at Orange Coast College, and I am thrilled to invite everyone to join the second annual S.T.E.A.M Race to Space Reading Challenge, and it begins today. In conjunction with the Orange County Department of Education, the For Space Company, and the Orange County Children's Book Festival, the race begins now. Just for reading some amazing books, you can win cool prizes, tickets to the Aquarium of the Pacific, art lessons with a Disney animator, Amazon gift cards, conversation with a real live NASA astronaut, and even a Chromebook. Most importantly, you'll learn the importance of science, technology, engineering, the arts, mathematics, and how they can lead to not only a rewarding career, but help us solve the problems we face today. So join us in the race to space. After today's event, your teachers will show you how to visit the website and register for this amazing adventure and these prizes. So let's blast off by talking to some inspiring writers, teachers, and scientists. Today, we are joined by three writers, Jasmine Warga, Christina Couch, and Cara Giaimo. Everyone, please say hello to our group. I just wanted to say hello before we start. I'm going to begin with Jasmine. So Jasmine, welcome.
Hi.
So let me give your credentials here. Jasmine Warga is a professor at the Vermont College of Fine Arts and the author of numerous books, including The Shape of Thunder, My Heart and Other Black Holes, and the Newbery Honor recipient, Other Words for Home. Her newest book, I think, just hit shelves last week. Is that right?
Yeah, it just came out last Tuesday.
A Rover Story. So Jasmine, welcome.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. And it was so fun to hear about all the cool prizes I want to win, getting to talk with an actual live NASA astronaut. That sounds amazing.
Last year, I was able to talk to someone and interview them. They said, this is what it's like to live up in space. It was rather amazing. So maybe one day we can get there, Jasmine.
Yeah, I know. I was like, how do I enter this contest?
I would love that. But before we begin, first I will say this. Other Words for Home. That is a wonderful, simply amazing book. All of our readers, listeners out there, they should definitely read this book. It's absolutely amazing. It's so touching. It's a brilliant book. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
No, I have to say that. But you were here to talk about a rover story. So where did you get the idea for this book? I mean, it's about a Mars rover, Rez, right? Who gains consciousness, humanity during his exploration. So where did this idea come from?
Yeah. So in July 2020, I was at home, like most of us were, with our families, and my family, was still isolated from a lot of our other family and friends. We were at home, and it came to our attention that NASA's newest rover, Perseverance, was launching that day. And so we all decided to watch it together. And I was watching the launch, I felt really emotional. I felt really moved listening to the NASA scientists talk about how many years they'd worked on this project, their relationship with the rover and with one another. And I started thinking about, our world felt really broken at, especially, then in 2020. But this felt so optimistic and so hopeful, and was such a display of what the best of humanity can do when we come together to kind of work together through teamwork and collaboration. And so I'm watching it, and that dramatic moment happens, right, where the rocket that's carrying the rover launches, and my oldest daughter gets up on the couch and she's clapping and jumping up and down, and my husband's clapping and I'm clapping. And then I look over at my youngest daughter and she looks upset. And so I'm trying to talk to her and I'm explaining, no, this is like what we wanted to happen. This is successful. She says, yeah, but Mom, don't you think the robot is scared? And I thought that was such a beautiful question of such deep empathetic imagination, and reminds me so much of why I love to write for this audience and how fun it is to kind of stretch your imagination. And so I started to think that'd be a really cool idea for a book, but it seems so different, right, from everything that I had written before. But then when I started to think about it, I started to realize, that it's not that different in some ways at its heart than Other Words for Home, because it's a book, right, about what does it mean to have to leave home? And what does it mean to want to find somewhere that you belong? And what does it mean to be really scared and to do something anyway? And so I started researching the rovers. And the more that I learned about NASA's rover project, the more I got excited to want this to be my next book. And that's kind of where A Rover Story came from.
I know you dedicated the book to your mom, but maybe you should have dedicated it to your daughter. That's a really insightful observation. That's amazing.
I know, I know. I mean, she does get the premier thank you in the acknowledgments. I dedicated the book before this book to my daughter, so I felt like that'd be a little bit of a double whammy. And the reason the book is dedicated to my mom is one of my dreams for the book is for it to be used as a read aloud. And I feel like I fell in love with stories in part because my mom read aloud to me so much as a kid. And even today, as a grown up, my very favorite way to experience story is to hear it aloud. I think it really like frees up your imagination. And so I'm really excited about the possibility of many young people getting to meet resilience like through a read aloud.
What what was your favorite book your mom read to you? The one that you can still hear her voice reading it?
Yeah, that's Charlotte's Web. That
Yeah,
yeah, I'll always remember that. Like
yeah,
read aloud.
I can too. Well, you have some amazing characters in this book. So let's talk first about Rez and also about Sophie, because I love how you split the narrative here. And that was a great writing choice. Because can you talk to us about those two characters?
Yeah, yeah. So I really wanted there to be that contrast, right? That resilience. His chapters, they start off really short, right? And really sparse and kind of the way we would almost imagine a robot's voice sounding. And he's a little bit more tentative. And then we have Sophie's letters where I got to have this like messier, punchier, spunkier voice. And I love their exchange because again, I think as the book goes on, you find the ways that they're connected and sort of expected and unexpected ways and the ways that their growth kind of parallels one another. And that was just a fun exercise to play with because my favorite element of writing is always creating characters and relationships and seeing how like the story kind of grows from the ways those relationships grow and deepen. And definitely like Sophie and Resilience are really interesting in that they're characters that don't necessarily seem like they would be intertwined, but I feel like the book really runs on the dialogue that happens kind of between them.
And we also see that change over time. And I really love that because it's not a story of just a single moment. It we see that time pass for both of them. And that was really beautifully done as their voices change and their recognition change. So I love that. Speaking of characters, I'm curious. You've been promoing this book and I'm sure touring now this first week. Are all of your audiences, do they love the character of Fly? Is that the popular hit? Is everyone directing there? Because it's such a great character. Can you talk about Fly?
Yeah. I mean, Fly is my favorite character. So maybe I'm like pushing, when I talk about the book at school, is pushing kids in that direction because I love to go to schools and I talk about how excited I was when I first started researching the rovers. So when I had that idea and went up to my computer and went on NASA's website and learned that Perseverance, NASA's actual rover, brought a friend with her to Mars, Ingenuity. And so Fly, who is the drone helicopter character in a rover story, is based off of Ingenuity. And I love that it's real science, right? And that the drone helicopter really does live inside the rover when it's not flying and they communicate with one another, right? And who's to say what that really looks like for machines? And so I loved that is my favorite part of the book is Resilience's like friendship with Fly and their relationship and how they work together in this sort of really dangerous mission on Mars.
Hmm. Jasmine, do you mind reading us a passage from the book?
Yeah, no, that would be great. So I'm just gonna start from the beginning. And since the chapters are really short, I'm gonna read the first two chapters and then I'm gonna read a little bit from the first letter from Sophie so that people can kind of get a sense of what we were talking about with the two different voices. So the first day, I am not born in the way humans are, but there is a beginning. Beeping, bright lights, a white room filled with figures in white hazmat suits. So much information to process, but I can handle it. I awake to knowledge. My circuits fire. The room cheers. A loud sound, but it does not startle me. I am not built for startling. I have been built for observation. In the sea of unknown figures, I focus on a face. I do not know if I have a face. If I have one, my information suggests it is not like this one. The face has what humans call lips. The human lips curl upward. A smile. I cannot smile. This I know. but somehow I understand the significance of this expression. I am learning. My mission has begun. Learning. I am built to collect and process information. That is how I learn. Here is some of the information I have collected. I am what is referred to as a robot. Most of the other beings around me are called humans. All the humans I interact with wear hazmat suits. This is to prevent microbacteria and dust particles from entering my environment. It is very important for my mission that I am kept in a sterile and clean environment. For some reason that I do not quite understand yet, humans call the white hazmat suits they wear bunny suits. I do not know what a bunny is. I frequently wonder about the possibilities. Most of the humans in bunny suits are what humans term scientists. This, I have deduced, is a subset of human. Perhaps I am a subset of robot, but I have not encountered enough robots to know for sure. I will wait to find out, but waiting can be hard. Dear Rover, my teacher, Mrs. Ennis, asked us to write a letter to you. She's really excited. She says you're going on an amazing mission where you're going to find out amazing things. Mrs. Ennis really likes the word amazing. Mrs. Ennis kept looking at me while she talked about you. She even asked me if I wanted to explain to the other kids what you were, and I really didn't. Not at all. No offense, but I'm already sick and tired of hearing about you all the time. Then she said, "Come on, Sophia." And I didn't want to disappoint Mrs. Ennis, so I told everyone how you are a robot who was created to explore the planet of Mars so that we can understand its atmosphere and environment better. That's kind of a mouthful to say, you know. I also told them how you were engineered to be really smart and that you are learning new things every day. Like yesterday, Mom told me that your brain learned how to talk to your arm. My classmates had lots of questions, but I didn't know how to answer them. I bet Mom could, though. Anyway, Mrs. Ennis wants us to enter the contest to name you. I'm not sure I'm going to enter. No offense again. Though if I did enter, I would submit something awesome like Spicy Sparkle Dragon Blast. I know enough to know that you can't talk like humans do, but if you could, I think you would tell me that you like that name. Okay, my hand is starting to hurt. I think I've written enough. And anyway, I don't know if rovers can read. Maybe I'll ask Mom tonight. Bye, Sophia.
Jasmine, that's wonderful. And I will say to everyone out there, I stayed up until 1 o'clock one night finishing the book. I had to know how it ended. I had to know that day when I started the book.
Oh, yeah.
Jasmine, very quickly, how can all of our viewers out there be like resilience and be like Sophie? How can they, be searching for something, roving for something, trying to discover something in the world they live?
Oh, I love that question. And I think that comes from, chasing your curiosity, thinking about what is it that you love, that you are curious about, and that you have to share with the world. This is sort of related, but I meet a lot of young people who they want to write, right? They like to write, and they'll say, but I don't feel like I have any ideas. And I always like to share that I feel like the best place we can all get ideas is if we take a moment to step back and think about what are the things we really wonder about? What are the things we're curious about? And then being brave enough to pursue them and want to share them with other people. Because I think it's that infectiousness that comes from when you are truly curious and truly excited and truly full of wonder, and you can share that wonder with other people. And I think that that's sort of how we begin to shape and change our world for the better, is sharing the things that are special and matter to us with the people in our life who are special and matter to us.
Well, I have one more very quick question because I'm curious. You just finished this book, you're touring it now, you're introducing it to everyone. What's next? What are you working on next?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And this is kind of a hard answer, but I like to be honest, especially if there are other young people listening, especially people who want to be writers or might be trying to figure out their own projects. That so for the past 10 months, I've been working on a book and I was really excited about it, but I'm not sure that book is working anymore. And those of us who are writers, you know how that goes, right? That you can be grinding it out. You can have this moment where you start to realize, I really like these characters, but I'm not sure if the story's right. So I'm sort of back to the drawing board. So related to the question you asked me, I'm kind of trying to be open to that and try to figure out, okay, what is it that's really grabbing my attention? What is it that I'm so curious about that I can't wait to explore? And then we'll be so excited to hopefully in a few years have the chance to share with other people. So I'm trying to sort of open myself up to that moment to find something that really captures my curiosity and imagination.
Like resilience, you're trying to find out what that sound is. Right?
Yes, yes. I'm chasing that. I'm like putting my antennas up. So
Well, I am so thankful. And everyone, please go out and read this book and all of her others. They're absolutely amazing. So, Jasmine, thank you so very much.
thank you so much, Chris. This is so fun.
I loved it. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Next up, we have Christina Couch and Cara Giaimo. They are science journalists and alums of the MIT Graduate Program of Science Writing. You can find their writing everywhere: the New York Times, Nova, Wired, Atlas Obscura. They are here to discuss their new book, Detector Dogs, Dynamite Dolphins, and More Animals with Super Sensory Powers. I love this. I learned so much from reading this book. I loved it. Wow. It's so cool. First, I'm an animal lover. How did you guys come up with the idea to tell this story?
Chris, I think you're muted, just so you know.
Oh,
But I can answer that. I think Chris and I, we went to school together and we learned that we had a lot of things in common, like, liking to write in sort of a funny or amusing way, liking to find strange things to write about in the world that most people don't know about. But then we also had some differences, like in terms of our interests. Like I really love animals and writing about the environment and ecology, and Chris really loves writing about anatomy and brain science and gross stuff, I would say. So we wanted to work together, and we found this kind of overlap in this topic of animals that do jobs to help people and how they do it with their amazing senses. So that's how we came to it.
well, this question may be for Christina then. I'm curious if she likes the gross stuff. Did you write the first chapter about the dog, the only dog in the world trained to sniff killer whale poop? Was that yours?
Oh, friend, I did. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. We found this one dog that's trained to sniff killer whale poop, and we're actually going to read a little bit from that chapter later. And this dog plays an incredibly important role in terms of conservation, and the combination of like whale poop and dog sniffing, irresistible to me.
Well, I know there are lots of dog lovers out there. What you guys really break down all that a dog can do. And I'm a dog. I'm a dog lover. I have one asleep right now, and I thought about these are all the things that he's capable of doing if he's not asleep. What else can dogs do? These sort of amazing talents they have as detectors.
You want to answer that, Chris? Because it's your chapter.
Yeah, that's a great question. So dogs can do an absolutely incredible number of things just with their nose. Dogs smell somewhere around 10,000 to 100,000 times better than we do for most things, not for everything. Bananas are actually one scent that humans and dogs smell about equally. So it's not everything, but it is the vast majority of things. But dogs are used in all sorts of contexts, from sniffing out diseases and explosives to conservation purposes. There are lots of different dogs that are working in different conservation capacities. And so it's really, really broad. All sorts of retrieval projects, search and rescue. Dogs are truly incredible creatures.
Well, you guys have lots of incredible creatures in this book. So I'm going to throw out a list, and I want you to pick out your favorite one. And I'll just give a few: ferrets, seals, pigeons, goats, bomb detecting dolphins, earthquake predicting cows, a shark that tweeted. I had so much fun finding out about all these animals. Each of you pick one and tell me what you discovered.
Cara, you go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I really developed a new appreciation of pigeons while writing this book. I think pigeons are an animal that many of us see maybe every day. And I was not aware of just how amazing they and other birds as well are at navigation, because they can actually tap into a source of information that humans can't access at all, which is the Earth's magnetic fields. And it's also really interesting to learn a little bit about how scientists have figured this out, because obviously we don't have this sense at all. So trying to figure out a sense like, it's like trying to imagine a color that doesn't exist, right? Or that we can't see. It's so hard to even wrap your head around it. And so some of the really ingenious experiments that scientists have come up with to discover how pigeons interact with the world were really interesting to me. And also the fact that people have been using pigeons to send messages for so many thousands of years, like back to ancient civilizations. Like pigeons were basically the first telephones. And I feel like we don't really give them enough credit for that when we're walking by them on the sidewalk.
For me, it's all about the ferrets. I didn't know anything about ferrets really before embarking on this. And so I was really surprised. We found a group of working ferrets, and their job is to, they help people lay underground, run underground pipes. So they wear these little teeny, very adorable little backpacks and vests, and they run through underground pipes with string, and it helps people string pipes through places without digging up the entire surface. But ferrets they have this like incredible place in science. I learned a lot about whisker systems and how valuable they are in terms of researching the human brain. Whiskered animals, some of them have a structure called the barrel cortex, which is a thing in their brain that works almost like an old-timey telephone, like plug into the brain. So you can pluck one single whisker and then see exactly where it resonates in the brain. And that's not a thing that you can do a lot of times with people. And so whiskered animals are really important for researching things like neuroplasticity, and ferrets have been used in all sorts of amazing contexts that I didn't know about. One ferret was actually used to help put together one of the first particle accelerators.
I'm curious.
Right, so we got to talk a little bit about.
I really want to replace this with a ferret or a pigeon. It sounds like so much more fun to communicate with people.
Totally.
So before I let you guys read from your book as well too, which was so great, how does a shark send a tweet?
How does the shark send a tweet? That's a really good question. So that's another kind of zany thing that happened when scientists were trying to learn more about animals and how they live. One thing that scientists like to do to learn about animals is put different gizmos on them, usually pretty small, unobtrusive gizmos that they can carry around with them while they travel. And then we can see things like where they are, where they're going, where they've been. And so there's one chapter in the book that focuses on a big project to track animals all around the world. And one precursor to this project, or another example of this, was there was a shark, I believe her name was Mary Lee, or was it Mary Lee? Yeah. Who wore a little transmitter, and every time, basically every day or every time maybe that she made contact with the satellite that was tracking her, she would send a tweet that basically said the equivalent of like, here's my latitude and longitude if you want to come say hello. So I always really like when scientists find ways to help animals communicate with us. Yeah.
So could you guys please read a section from your book? Because it's so good. It's so enjoyable. So you pick a spot.
Okay, we're going to read a spot about the dog that sniffs killer whale poop. And this is the actual dog. Her name is Eva. So we're going to read a little bit about this incredible dog and what she does.
I can hold it up, Chris, if you want to read.
Perfect. At 6:30 a.m., the sun rises off the shores of Washington State. Riding on a boat that's cruising along the coastal waterway, Eva zigzags through the choppy waves on a ferocious hunt for floating patties of poo. Eva is a snuggly brown and white terrier mix, and possibly the only dog in the world trained to sniff killer whale poop. From May through October, when an endangered population of killer whales, known as the southern residents, migrate through, Eva and Dr. Giles, the human scientist she works with, stay ready. When they get a call that killer whales, also called orcas, have been spotted in the area, they hop on their boat and head to the spot where the whales were sighted. As they get close, Giles, she goes by her last name, slows the boat down, and they steadily crisscross through the waves, searching for sticky blobs of poop that bob to the surface and smell like sour old fish. These poop blobs might be red, green, blue, or yellow, and Eva can smell them as far as 20 football fields away. When she gets a whiff, she starts whining, licking her lips anxiously, and moving in the direction of the scent, so Giles knows where to guide the boat. If they're lucky, they'll find thick, gooey, cake batter-like whale poop floating on the surface. When they do, Giles scoops it up using a big beaker attached to a long pole and brings it back to shore. Dr. Giles is a killer whale biologist. She and Eva are both members of Dr. Samuel Wasser's lab at the University of Washington Center for Conservation Biology. Southern resident killer whales are the only endangered killer whales in the United States, and scientists want to find the best way to protect them. Since 2005, Giles has been patrolling the waters of the Pacific Northwest to understand why there are fewer whales coming through and whether the ones that do pass by are healthy. Since it's hard to run tests on whales as they're swimming through the ocean, scientists like Wasser and Giles act like detectives and look for things that whales leave behind that can offer clues about what they're eating and what kinds of dangers they're encountering. A big, sticky blob of whale poop can tell scientists all kinds of things: what species of fish the whales are eating, if the whales are having babies, and if they're feeling stressed out. Just like people, whales make special hormones when they feel scared or uncomfortable, and those hormones come out the same way that digested food does. But finding clues like whale poop is a huge challenge. The poop floats on the surface for a short time, only about 30 minutes, before sinking or being consumed by small, poop-eating sea creatures, which is why Eva and her super sensitive snout are so important to this work.
Wow. That is an amazing dog, and also so amazing about killer whales as well too. I learned a ton from that. I'm curious. So many of our viewers probably are looking at you two thinking, I want to go become a scientist. I want to go to MIT and write about cool stuff like that. What advice do you guys have for, for young blossoming scientists out there?
So, I mean, neither of us are scientists, but we are science writers. So our job is basically to call up scientists and ask them about their jobs so that we can tell people about them. Because the thing about scientists is they often have one super specific area of expertise. And science writers, like, one of the fun things about that job is you get to talk to a lot of different people and sort of get like a broad view of things. Like in this book, we have 8 different examples of the same thing. So I guess my advice for kids who want to like learn more about science and maybe science writing is just to like stay super curious and ask a lot of questions, because that's how you learn things that people don't think to tell you for whatever reason. And that's how I've learned almost everything interesting that I've ever learned in my life, is asking a question to a real person.
I would add too that you don't have to be great at science to be a really great science writer. I was never a student that was particularly good with lab science, but I love all the weird and wonderful and eye-opening and awe-inspiring things about science. And for me, that's how I sort of broke into the job that I have. It is totally okay if you are a kid who is interested in narrative development and great stories and all of that. You can absolutely, there's still a place for you in science.
Totally. And like, as we learned also from Jasmine's book, like, science can be presented as this very sort of like sterile, cut and dry thing where there's a question and then you find an answer and then it's over. But it's really not like that. It's just people trying to answer questions. And the stories of how they do that are often really, really interesting.
I am a writing teacher, and I think one of the hardest things to do is to make something like this just thrilling in storytelling. And you two just knocked it out of the park. We don't have many Stephen Hawkings that are wonderful writers as well as amazing scientists as well too. And it takes somebody to tell their story. And you guys told a wonderful. I loved your book. I also loved like the activities involved. So in every chapter, you gave something for the reader to do as well too. Can you talk about that quickly?
Yeah, we wanted, first of all, we wanted to have something that felt hands-on and that you can test out for yourself. And we also wanted something that, one of the coolest things about my job is hearing something weird and wonderful that I've never heard of before and immediately wanting to tell everybody about it. And so we wanted to make points where you could actually do things with other people and it would feel more communal in that way. So we have a chapter at the end of every single, we have an activity at the end of every chapter that's designed to get you involved in the story.
I was doing them myself too. I think I did 2 or 3 of them. So you guys captivated me. Thank you so very, very much for joining us today. I do want to bring back Jasmine, and I also want to bring back the co-founder and director of the Orange County Children's Book Festival, Pat Burns. So Pat, welcome. All 5 of us on the screen. Pat, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you, Chris and Cara and Jasmine. What fun it was to listen to you. I'm cracking up and loving every minute of it. And but now I just want to have a quick message to the students watching these videos. I want you to get excited about the S.T.E.A.M Race to Space Reading Challenge. And not just for the way cool prizes we have, it's also just for the windows and doors that will swing wide open for you from reading books such as we shared with you today and the ones that you'll find on the recommended reading list. So just again, thank you all for being here. And Chris, I'll let you close it out and see if the ladies have anything they'd like to add.
Thank you so very, very much. That was such a treat. And I know our viewers absolutely love that. You need to go pick up both of these books, get them immediately, make sure they're in your classrooms, read them, recommend them to your friends because they are absolutely amazing. So thank you so very, very much. And for everyone out there, the race to space begins today. Sign up and start reading some amazing books. Become a scientist.